Hello there, this is James and you're watching Tixee Live. In today's program, I want to discuss action, or should I say lack of action, taken by the Bank of Japan, and discuss a couple of other things which is occurring today, which could affect the market. But before we get into that, don't forget, these little episodes are for educational purposes only, and in no way whatsoever should ever be taken as advice. I always suggest you do your own research and do your own due diligence. And of course, know the risks at hand before entering any trade. With that out of the way, let's get started. So obviously we've had a number of central banks take action this week. A number of them, 3 in fact. But there was one today who didn't do anything. And that is, of course, the Bank of Japan. But put it simply, whereas the Swiss National Bank surprised the market yesterday by actually raising interest rates by 50 basis points, Bank of Japan, who's got negative interest rates, did nothing. So they are not SNB. In fact, they're sticking to their guns of very loose monetary policy. Very loose monetary policy. In fact, the Bank of Japan's Kuroda, he said, well, the BOJ will not hesitate to ease monetary policy further if necessary. So it's going completely opposite direction to what other central banks are saying, as in they're looking to tighten, as in raise interest rates. He's actually saying, or their bank's actually saying, they would maybe even look at loosening even more. So yeah, they're standing firm to what they believe is right for the Japanese economy at the moment. However, he did say this, which might, well, we'll look at the USD Japanese yen in a minute, but he did say this, which might try and give a yen a little bit of support. And that is recent rapid weakening in the yen is negative for the economy. So he admits that the weak yen is negative, but still there is very lack of action from the BOJ at the moment. So they're basically refusing to join the Fed, who raised interest rates by 75 basic points this week, the SNB, who raised interest rates by 0.50 basic points, surprised the market, and the Bank of England, of course, who raised interest rates by 0.25 basic points. And if you look at the interest rates in general, US currently at 1.75%, CAD at 1.50%, Australia 0.85%, Euro, obviously we're still waiting for them to take action, UK 1.25, Swiss beginning to get out of negative with minus 0.25, and Bank of Japan stays at negative 0.10%. So let's have a quick look at the reaction to this and how the Japanese yen is doing at the moment. So yeah, on the back of this lack of action by the BOJ, you can see that the dollar is now again in the 134 region. It's currently trading at 134.42. And as you can see, obviously this is a 4-hour chart. It again is given US dollar strength. We have got this key level of 135 to look for. But now the dollar bulls against the yen, they see 135 in their sights. Whether it get there again, we've got a little way to go. But yeah, we're back above 134 again. We did drop low enough, or the dollar did weaken enough to go underneath the 131 level later on in earlier sessions. But once again, because of the lack of action by the BOJ, the bulls are back with the dollar against the yen. On other news, yesterday, ECB Lagarde, she spoke, and I love her words she uses. They are very sort of like dovish, if in many ways, gradual words like that. But she actually said in a speech yesterday, the ECB is prepared to normalize the spreads, and what she means is spreads between the different bond yields from different countries within the eurozone, as in keep the yields a bit tighter, because at the moment the yields, say between the German bonds and Italian bonds, is quite wide. So she wants to normalize it, and on the back of her words, the Italian 10-year yields came down to around about 3.75%. Don't forget, we said the Italian 10-year yields were around the 4% level. So, and we don't want it around the 4% level because that's more expensive for Italy to borrow money compared to say the German 10-year bonds are around about 1.79%. So her saying that she's trying to bring the bond yields down is sort of giving a little boost to the euro and to obviously onto bond yields. So let's have a quick look at the euro now, actually, and have a look at how the euro is performing. So yeah, on the back of that, and obviously we had signs of dollar weakness yesterday as well, because of the U.S. Jobless claims, which came in higher than anticipated. Euro, as it stands, it's currently trading around 1.05, so we're above the 1.05 region again. So it's around that level. We're still under the 100-day, the 200 and the 50-day moving average, though, and the RSI is between the 70 and 30. So potentially there's a little bit of dollar pullback at the moment, not significant amount, but yeah, like I say, we're still under those key moving averages, and the RSI is in the middle, so it does give us room for further pressure on the euro. But at the moment, her words did give the euro a little bit of a boost. Okay, couple of things which are happening today, which is worth keeping an eye on. It's a day of lots of speeches, so to speak. Now, we have got two members of the Bank of England MPC committee, Mr. Phil and Mr. Tenero, is speaking today. Now, my concern about this is, and this is why we need to look at the sterling. I'll bring the sterling up. My concern, if you remember yesterday, when we talk about the Bank of England raising interest rates, I mentioned three members who voted for a 50 basic point interest increase, and they were Haskell, Mann, and Saunders. So Phil and Tenero could be quite dovish because they're not part of the three who went for the 50 basic point vote. But it would be interesting to see what they say. If they are a bit dovish or a bit hawkish, they're not part of the three who voted yesterday for the 50 basic point rate hike. So it'll be interesting what they say and how that affects the sterling. Let's have a quick look at the sterling at the moment as well. See how the sterling is doing. So we're back above 122. Okay, but we're still, this again, it's not 4 hours, so it's a long-term chart. We're still under the 50, the 100 and the 200-day moving average. We're above this key level, which I keep looking at, which is 121.967. So yeah, okay, but we are still below the moving averages. So it'll be interesting to see, let's look on the 30-minute chart, be interesting to see what these speeches do, if they do anything. Because don't forget, the cable got a bit of a boost on the back, not because of the 25 the 25 rate hike, but because of the anticipation that next rate hike will be 50, and that the tone of the minutes and the tone of what was said after the interest rate hike, which was considered dovish, but the tone what was said after was very hawkish. So this is why the cable on sterling in particular, across the board against the dollar and against the euro, got a bit of strength. But it'd be interesting to see these speeches can carry on the momentum, or if they're dovish, because like I said, they weren't part of the three who voted for the 50 basis points yesterday. So let's have a quick, keep an eye on that indeed. Someone else is speaking today as well. The inflation terminator is who I call him, and that's obviously Jerome Powell. He's speaking today. It'd be interesting to see what he says, because the market is beginning to think that recession will happen because of apart from the Bank of Japan, because of the attitude or the actions taken and the tone taken by the central banks to fight inflation. The market is beginning to feel a bit nervous that they're not going to worry about pushing us in the recession. They're too obsessed with fighting inflation. So it'd be interesting to see what Jerome Powell will say. Yesterday, obviously, we had a big sell-off in stocks and stock market, probably expecting a little bit, teeny weeny bit of a bounce. But in general, the mood is pretty much risk off. So it'd be interesting to see how this day developed and how, what Powell says, and see if that changes anything. As it stands, the market, Europe has opened fairly mixed, to be honest. You have the FTSE currently up at 0.83%, DAX down negative 0.04%, and this Euro Stoxx 50 is currently up plus 1.04%. So a mixed start to the day. So don't forget, I'm obviously back online later today at 1 p.m. UTC, where we'll discuss what has happened so far in the European session, plus my usual, it's Friday. I'll do a recap of the week, and what a week it's been. So please come along and join me for that. Don't forget, you can ask me questions anytime I'm online. This is what I'm here for. So yeah, please feel free to do that. No, there's no questions at the moment, which is not a problem. But anyway, don't forget, I'm back online later this afternoon at 1 p.m. UTC. So please come and join me for that. And anyway, as I always say, if you're watching me on Facebook and you like it, give us a follow if you like. If you're watching me on YouTube and you like it, subscribe if you like. Hit the notification button so you know next time we're going live. If you found this little program insightful and interesting, give me one of those. It's nice to know that you're liking it. But anyway, till then, remember, these little programs are for educational purposes only, and in no way whatsoever should ever be taken as advice. I always suggest you do your own research and do your own due diligence, and of course, know the risks at hand before entering any trade. Till next time, every single one of you, trade safe.